And continuing our coverage of the Maui wildfire disaster, the Federal Emergency Management Agency has announced it's providing nearly $95 million to the state. It's expected to cover the cost of temporary housing, meals, and services for affected residents. And in a statement, U.S. Senator Brian Schatz said, quote, "This is a down payment on what is necessary, but it is essential help, and we will keep working as hard as we can to help bring federal resources for Lahaina's recovery." And joining us this morning over Zoom is Senator Schatz. Senator, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Leah. Thanks for covering this.
And let's talk about these funds. Where exactly is it going? Does it go directly to residents, or is it going to the organizations helping to support them right now?
Yeah, this is not cash assistance. This covers the mostly covers the hotels and the Airbnbs for the temporary shelter. Also 3 square meals a day. As well as whatever services the Red Cross is providing. I've been to a couple of those centers where they're helping people to get back on their feet in numerous ways. So this just gets us through November. This has nothing to do with the sort of long-term recovery of Lahaina as a town or people rebuilding their own lives. But this does fund making sure that nobody's out on the street. And we're going to get additional increments of this, which is why I call it a down payment. It's a big chunk of money, but obviously we're going to need much, much, much more in order for people to recover.
So the money, of course, not going directly to the residents themselves, but going maybe to these organizations or the state to help fund all of those needed resources.
Right. And, in terms of the next steps, we're about 3 weeks from the end of the federal fiscal year. And so we're likely to pass basically a short-term budget. And on that short-term budget, we're hopeful, it's not a sure thing at all, but we're hopeful on a bipartisan basis that we're going to be able to pass some disaster relief. We have a bipartisan coalition, Florida, Vermont, California, Georgia, other states. They've all had their own disasters. And, one thing that I have learned over the many, many years is that disaster supplementals, disaster relief, it's not a bipartisan thing. It's a nonpartisan thing. People don't really care what party you are. Anytime an American needs help because of a natural disaster, they deserve help. And that's what the disaster supplemental is all about.
As you mentioned, of course, many other states dealing with their own disasters that they're trying to recover from right now. So looking like you guys will be able to get that passed. But what happens if that extra money for FEMA doesn't get passed?
Well, it would be really bad if we don't pass disaster relief funding. That fund was already, the disaster relief fund, they call it DRF, was actually running out of money before the Maui wildfires. And so what they're doing right now is prioritizing Maui because it is the current and biggest disaster. And they are deprioritizing recovery for a bunch of disasters that happened a year ago and 2 years ago. And so, it was $12 billion short before the Maui fire. Now we are asking for up to $20 billion in the disaster relief fund to cover not just Maui and not just whatever disasters have already occurred, but it's the beginning of a El Nino hurricane season. And we hope we're wrong, but we have to bet on it being a pretty rough hurricane season. And so, again, look, it doesn't matter whether you believe in small government or big government, whether you're left, right, or center, or you don't even vote. Everybody needs help when the disaster hits.
Well, very true, Senator. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we'll make sure we're tuned in with you to see if more of those funds, much needed funds, are headed our way.
Thanks very much.
Have a great rest of your day, Senator. Appreciate it.